Well, hello friends, and welcome back to the cabin. Yes, I think that my other hat has given up the ghost because it finally rotted through on one side because of so much sweat this summer. But yeah, I'm up here taking care of my daily chores. You know, in that last video, I could have sworn I had enough material cut when I had it drying out on the inside of the workshop down here. But I actually ended up, like I had said in that video, either 2 or 4 boards short, depending on how you look at it. So I laid one extra that I had in there, and you can see there's only about 5.5, 6 inches left on this other side. And up there, there's only about 12. So I am going to have to mill up another log because I don't have any more 1-inch material. I actually have some 3/4, but I don't have any 1-inch. I'll tell you what, this is really going to be nice down here when I can start bringing the tools down. That's another thing, that old sawmill building up there, I'm going to have to start bringing some of those tools down here. And I kind of wish I had the second floor joists up where I could cover those as well. But I'm actually not going to work on that right now because it's not a priority, and it's a lot of larger material that I'm going to have to come up with that I really don't have right now. Now there are some logs over at my friend's house that, remember the trees, I guess it was back in February, that I went over and helped him cut down. I do have to transport those logs over here, but we've got to get them out first. So that is a possibility on some material for that. And if you remember the threats of a lot of the windstorms that we were getting over the winter, I had laid some trees down up here behind the cabin that probably there's, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 that are really good size. They're laying down to the right of that tower up there, back over into this area right here. But I'm not going up in there right now because of possibility of some ticks, plus the fact that it is so grown up there. I'm not going to go up there unless I absolutely have to. Now I do have a bit of insulation right there that I could use down there at the workshop and then finish the walls off a little bit as I go. I didn't put any in the flooring because primarily it's just a workshop and I wasn't concerned about putting too much money into it. And the fact that with that 1-inch material, and then if I put plywood on top of that, I will have an R factor with like 1.5 inches worth of wood. But you know, like I say, it's just a workshop, and I think with a wood heater in here that we could probably heat the place well enough to come down here in the wintertime and do whatever we need to do, because I'll only be down here, you know, 2 or 3 days a week anyway. I did have some folks that wanted to know, did I need any support in here for a wood stove? Well, let me just say this, with the timber frame structure and this true dimensional lumber, you've got 2x10s right there, and we've got actual 1x material on top of that. Walk around in here, this thing is absolutely solid. Now this is the wood stove that I plan on putting in there, but you know, folks, it's not all that heavy. I think 2 people could get that in there really easy. But no, I don't think that I need any extra support. What I will do is I will put some rock board down where it's going to set, not only down on the ground, and then I'll probably take some really thin rock and put on that, and then I'll put some of the rock board on the back, and I may even, like I say, take a thin sheet of rock and do that just to dress it up and make it look good. We'll see. But I think what I'm going to do, right here where this first brace is, I had thought about putting a door right here in the middle. Here's the other side of it, standing here in the doorway of the sawmill. I'll step out where you guys can kind of make out where I'm at right here. Okay, when I step back inside, you can see where that would give me 2 sections that would be 8 foot, so that's 16 feet long by 8.5 feet wide, that I will be able to store material in. And I'm not really sure yet. What I might do is I might go ahead and build a platform or a floor up top there and just cover from here down. That way I can use that up there as storage area as well. It's not going to give me a whole lot of space. It'll give me about 2.5 feet on this side, and over here I think the total is 5 feet right there. But it's a good size area up here on this side where I can actually store a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, it's like 8 by 8 up there, so I think that might be a better idea. What I could do is take a brace in the center and go right across over the top and connect it to this wall, and then I could go ahead and lay those 2x10s like that up there, lay those down, and have a nice 8x8 storage area up top. But I was thinking about putting the stove back here on this back wall and just piping out, coming up and elbowing out, piping out and going up. That way I don't have to mess with the roof. If I set it right there, I'll still have room to build the set of steps that are going to go up to the second floor. They'll start probably right about where that toolbox is, and then they'll gradually go up, missing this door frame, and they'll probably end up somewhere about 1/3 to a half into this room right here. I'm not going to make them real wide. I think only about like 3 feet wide, because I just need access to get up and down to store boxes and things like that. That's all that area is going to be used for, is just boxes. To get things out of the way, because I don't have that much storage space up here. I do have a bunch of material that I didn't use for structural building that I could use up there just to make like a loft area that I have left over that may work. I might have enough material to do that, because actually if we walk back over here in the corner, I've got one 2x10 right there. I've got some stacked up right there. There's some that actually go to the workbenches outside. I've got this 2 pieces of material laying right here. And I've got some leftover material out here. And I've also got a few in the pile right here that I could dig out and possibly use. As far as creating a loft up there, I might already have the material to do that. So the only thing that we would need to come up with would be a support to go across the middle, and then some 2x4s to be able to frame. And I might have some of that material left over as well, 2x4s to frame for a wall to kind of separate those two. And you can see walking up from the inside kind of where that wall would be, so the door would end up right there. Originally, I was just going to put in a door right here and use all of that area for storing lumber. But I thought, you know what, that would give me a little bit of extra room, and it would also make it easier to put the staircase in where it wasn't so much in my way. So if I create a storage area up there where I can actually put lumber up there, and then I've got all of this area right in here where I could stack lumber like I've got it done vertically, or I could build the same thing up here, lay my wood horizontally and stack it up like so. But that should give me enough area that I could use to store, you know, the material that I need for the projects that I'm going to be doing in the future, because for the most part, the majority of the infrastructure is already done here. Now I still have a root cellar / storm shelter that we're going to build, and then, you know, as far as the buildings go, I'll have maintenance that I'll have to do on them from time to time. And, you know, another shed down here like we were talking about in the last video, and maybe a few other items, but, you know, a shed for Jennifer, some outbuildings, things like that. Nothing major like a cabin or a workshop or anything like that. But yeah, I think that that's really going to be nice once I get this old sawmill tore down. The only other thing that we had planned to do is, once this old sawmill building is moved, we're going to put in a gazebo right here on this end, and that will leave a big open area between the juice shack and the gazebo, where we're thinking about putting a really nice fire pit that we can, you know, put benches around and sit outside and kind of have a relaxing evening, you know, or just get together, you know, if people come up to visit, have a place to sit down and hang out. Yeah, I've been hanging out in the cabin with the dogs in front of the fan, because I'll tell you what, and I know it's the same where you're at, it has been hot. Well, I've got some ground clamps that I have been putting on down here so that I can cut those ends off, and they're mounted in there pretty strong. So what I'll do, I'll get a ground wire and I'll run in there, and then we'll come over here and connect to this. That way we can cut this off right here. The problem is, see, the strut is not all one piece. So I've got to be able to get a clamp in there and grab a hold of that so that I can bond. There's 2 pieces. There's one there, and then there's one down on that end. And what I'll do is I'll just, like I said, run a ground up to that and connect to it. Yeah, this is the ground clamp that I had, and it's just kind of too small. This is not long enough, or it's not deep enough on the inside right there, so I'm going to have to get a larger one. That's the only thing that I can think of that is not bonded in the solar array or in the juice shack up here. So I thought it might be time to go ahead and get those put on there. But the problem is I'm going to have to get a bigger ground clamp because the ones that I've got are too small to go on those inside, underneath on the back side. So when I get those put on, all of that will be done and it will feel nice to have everything bonded. Friends, that's just a little bit of an update on what's going on up here. It's already starting to get hot and it's overcast today, so it may rain here shortly. But anyway, appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.